Hi everybody, welcome back. I said I'd be back super quick because we've got to talk about this Nigeria official, unofficial tour. It is not a tour, like I said at the end of my last video, because they are not working royals. But the announcement coming from one Nigerian media outlet said that they will be welcoming His Royal Highness the Duke of Duchess. That about sums up what a farce this is going to be. And I'm pretty certain that Harry is not going to correct them and say, actually, I'm no longer allowed to use his or her Royal Highness because of the fact that I left the royal family, then betrayed them all and sold them down a river for a paycheck. I am not here as a representative of the British royal family, nor is my wife. We're just here to cash in on the latest freebie holiday offered to us by another country. Thanks. Now, this is very much a private visit. It is not a royal tour in any way, shape or form because they are not working royals. They do not represent the UK, the USA, the Commonwealth or the Crown. They only represent themselves. They were invited by the Minister of Defence, Mohammed Badru Abubakar, who was photographed with Prince Harry at last year's Invictus Games. Last year was the first year that Nigeria had actually taken part in the Invictus Games. It was cause for a big celebration, and of course it wasn't long after Meghan had decided to declare herself 43% Nigerian, thus making Nigeria's appearance at the Invictus Games all about her. Now, the minister has kindly invited them so they can immerse themselves in Nigerian culture, or should I say cultures. They are there as part of a potential future deal where Nigeria might possibly put in a bid for the Invictus Games to be held there. For Meghan, this is one big fat freebie. For Harry, this is more to do with using the Invictus Games and the veterans to be able to pretend that he's still someone of significance. Now, despite the way that this is being spun, obviously, by their PR, this is little more than just a freebie holiday for them, using the Invictus Games, obviously, to promote themselves yet again. Now, Nigeria is a beautiful country and its people are known for being incredibly welcoming and friendly, and I'm in no doubt that Harry and Meghan will get an incredibly warm reception. Now, I'm just wondering if Harry and Meghan, when they're out there, will form a ring of steel around themselves like they did actually to the families and friends at the Invictus Games. Whilst Meghan was more than happy to pose for a few photographs, you saw a real shift once she felt that she had got the shots that she wanted, with security then trying to separate people from Harry and Meghan as he held his wife like she was about to be kidnapped at any moment. I also wonder if Meghan will start taking off her jewellery and just wear cheap little bits like she did in South Africa. One can't be too careful, of course. Now, I'm also going to be incredibly interested to see if Meghan will find a tree stump somewhere and give a nice speech to the lovely Nigerian people, telling them that she is in fact their princess, because they have already affectionately named her Amira Ngozi Lolo, which means warrior princess, blessed and royal wife. Of course, this is Meghan and she won't let that go to her head. This might be why perhaps she's flying out there first without her husband to receive the welcome that a daughter of Nigeria should come to expect. Meghan doesn't want Harry taking any of the limelight away from her, but it also makes it very laughable. Meghan cares so much about the Invictus Games, she wants to take over it, but she's not attending it in the UK because it's too dangerous. She is instead flying out to a country that is in the top 20 most dangerous countries in the world. Now, that's not to say that Meghan is going by herself. I'm sure she will be taking her children and her mother so they can all learn about their ancestry together. I'm sure it came as quite the shock for Doria to learn that her daughter was in fact 43% Nigerian, and because her previous genealogy test that she took told her that she was actually Maltese. Meghan had clearly got a second opinion from her 2015 genealogy test, who had clearly got it oh so very wrong.
So, I leave straight for the airport from here and I go to London, then I'm going to Malta, which I'm so excited about. My great-great-grandmother's from Malta. I've never been, so I'm going with a genealogist.
That's
sort
so
of like
cool,
and
track it down.
Yes, Meghan found out that she was Maltese and went to Malta on an all-expensive paid trip courtesy of Elle magazine to discover her roots. Meghan finally felt that she fit in Malta. And I quote Meghan's very own words, "Before I came, people were telling me, when you go to Malta, everyone will look like you. And I started to say, Oh my gosh, I do sort of blend in, and it's the loveliest feeling. Yes, Meghan finally found what box to tick, and apparently it's to do with her Maltese heritage. The problem being is, yes, her great-grandmother might have been born in Malta, but it was actually two Irish parents who were travelling through on their way to eventually settle in Canada. Meghan does not have a drop of Maltese blood, but hey, that's just a minor detail where Meghan is selling a story, right? Plus the fact we've got to remember that Meghan likes to change everything about her history, including her ancestry. Meghan is no longer telling the world that she is Caucasian. She is no longer telling the world that she is Maltese. No, Meghan is now a proud black woman. She told us so in South Africa. As for her new genealogy test, 43% Nigerian is also very impressive because Nigeria was only formed in 1914 and has over 250 different ethnic groups. It would truly be fascinating to see which of those groups Meghan claims is in fact her ancestry. Due to the interest in Meghan marrying into the royal family, of course, people have researched her family tree and have gone as far back as the 17th century. Obviously, the Nigerian 43% wouldn't come from her father's side, but people have also tried to work out exactly where that came from on her mother's side. The other slight snag with being 43% Nigerian is it is a citizenship-based nationality. Now, I'm not saying that she doesn't have DNA tracing back to African countries, but to say 43% is Nigerian, I'm sorry, I think it's total fabrication. As I said, there are over 250 different ethnic groups that make up the rich diversity of the country. Many cultures make up Nigeria, and many are very, very proud of their heritage and which tribes that they descend from. That is, of course, unless you are Marlene from Hackney or otherwise known as Ngozi Fulani. The drama surrounding a visit that Ngozi made to the palace. This is the woman that cried racism at the hand of Queen Elizabeth's long-term friend and lady-in-waiting, Lady Susan Hussey. Trained as the Queen's companion since 1960, who has travelled the world extensively with our late Queen, who has met dignitaries and people from all around the world. We were expected to believe that she spotted Ngozi at the corner of the room, walked over to her, grabbed her hair and said, "So where do your people come from then?" Do you really think a woman that has been educated in protocol and etiquette, that has been surrounded by people from all cultures all around the world for that number of years, would truly be that ignorant? No, of course she wasn't. Ngozi was dressed in such a way, in traditional dress, that it would obviously attract attention. She wanted to stand out. Lots of people wear traditional clothing and traditional jewelry that represents their cultures, their history, their family, and lots of people are proud of it. So why did she get so offended by Lady Susan merely inquiring, what is your history? What is your culture? Where does your family come from? It was clearly a topic of conversation that she was showing interest in this woman that has gone to a palace party quite clearly dressed to draw attention to herself. Not everything is about racism, and many people spoke out and said that the clothes and the jewellery that Ngozi was wearing could in fact have caused confusion because it was a mixture of different cultures. Much like Ngozi from Hackney, Meghan is doing the exact same thing where she is going to use her heritage to promote herself. If Meghan was really that interested in learning about her ancestry, her heritage, her DNA, her mother's side of the family and where they originated from, that she'd actually want to meet and spend time with living relatives. She's had several family members in the state of Georgia speak out since before the wedding and after about how they'd love to meet her, how proud that they are of her, how strong women run in the family, and they even threw a baby shower in anticipation of Archie's birth. But much like her direct family, Meghan has shown no interest in her distant living relatives either. But suddenly now she's interested in learning her ancestry, supposedly linked to Nigeria, which dates back several centuries, if at all. I think it's pretty obvious to many people that Meghan has no interest in her family or in fact her family tree. This sudden urge to explore her ancestry is all about using Nigeria to give herself a mini publicity tour. That is why she's flying out there without Harry, so she can have the big, grand welcoming all to herself, and Harry can join her afterwards. Meghan is going to use Nigeria the same way that she used Rwanda, where she took a fashion photographer, designer clothes, demanded top-class flights and accommodations from a charity, and used the children as props. This was all about setting up her caring and compassionate side, from red carpets to refugee camps to ensnare her easily led husband. She and Harry also used South Africa as a backdrop to pave the way for Megxit and to start telling the world how hard they had it. They have lied about South Africans dancing and rejoicing in the streets over their wedding, the same as they apparently did when Nelson Mandela was freed from prison. And Meghan accused the governor's mansion of being a housing unit, which is little more than cheap social housing. And it was so poorly furnished and taken care of that a heater they had put in Archie's nursery caught fire, endangering her baby's life. Meghan, like I said, used Nigeria's entry into the Invictus Games to make that all about herself, and now she is going to use a country to promote herself as Nigeria's new princess. She is going to use this trip as a promotional tour for herself to get some wonderful photographs, the same as she has done across other African countries. She cares very little about the people. This is just another way for Harry and Meghan to stick it to the royal family, just as they did Jamaica, just as they did Canada. They are pretending that they are still half in and half out, which they were not allowed. They are not working royals. They are only there to represent themselves and to promote themselves. This is still new territory for them both, pretending to be royals, but the difference is, and where blunders may happen, is the fact that they do not have the guidance, the assistance, or the wisdom of royal advisors being with them. This could blow up in their faces and make them look even more ridiculous. I mean, of course, perhaps they will be okay because, as we know, Meghan double majored in drama and international studies. I'm sure that she has the wisdom to help them through any potential rocky waters. But given the fact that Meghan doesn't realise that she can't actually be 43% Nigerian, I don't have high hopes. Whilst Harry and Meghan can pretend this is a pseudo royal tour, the only thing this has the potential of being is perhaps a royal disaster. So guys, tell me your thoughts. I will be back with you very soon with another video where we will be discussing a real Duchess and a real royal tour. So I will be back with you very soon. Take care for now. Bye.